Hello beautiful people, welcome to Remy's Fashion. My name is Remy. I just want to say a big thank you to all those that have subscribed and watch our videos, that share. Thank you so much. We won't be where we are without you guys. We're really grateful. I want to let you know we have a few online classes. I'll put the classes and the links in the description box below, and then I will put our WhatsApp number on the screen. So if you're interested in any of the online classes, send us a WhatsApp message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew shift dress with bell sleeves. If this is something you would like to learn, then keep watching. So I'm going to be using this Ankara fabric. This is what I'm going to be using to cut our dress. I'm going to be cutting directly on the fabric. I'll cut and I will sew. Whatever fabric you're going to use, you can use Ankara or any other fabric. And you should also have your basic sewing supplies. This is 6 yards of fabric. I'm going to cut it into 3. I'm going to be using 3 yards to make this dress. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut 3 yards from here. And then I'm going to fold my 3 yards of fabric. Out of the 3 yards, I'm going to be using 1 yard for the bell sleeves and then 2 yards to cut the shift dress. So I'm going to fold it now and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Let me show you a trick on how to remove stickers from fabrics. All you need to do is put on your iron and then place it on top of it, and then it just comes off so easily. You see? How easy is that? Just comes off so easily. Just place it on it and pull it out. I'll just place it and voila, it's off. See, it's that easy. So I have folded my fabric into 4 places. So this is 2 yards of fabric. I'm going to be using 2 yards of fabric for the dress and then 1 yard for my sleeves. Since they are bell sleeves, you need fabric. So I'm going to be using a whole yard for that. So now this is my fabric folded into 4. So you see 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the part that is folded is the part that is facing me. This is where I'm going to be drafting from. Okay, so I'm going to draw out my starting point. I'm going to be starting from here. I do not want this in my dress, so I'm going to cut it off. So I'm going to cut it off, so that's going to be my starting point. So this is going to be my starting point. And then Ankara fabrics are usually 45 inches in length. So I'm going to be using the whole length for my shift dress. So you decide what length you're going to be using. So this is 45 inches. I'm going to be cutting off the edges as well for the bottom because I don't want that in my dress. So that's going to be cut off. This top now is going to be my shoulder point. So this is going to be the length of my dress. I want to use the whole length. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out my vertical measurements. So this is my shoulder now. So my shoulder to my bust is 12 inches. I'll mark. Shoulder to my waist is 19 inches. I'll mark. And then shoulder to my hip is 27 inches. I'll mark. And then this is the length of our dress. I'll come on this side and do the same thing and then draw horizontal lines across. And this is the length of my dress. Then I'm going to connect my points. I'll draw my horizontal lines across. So I'm drafting both my front and my back. So by the time I finish drafting, I'll cut out the back first. Take out one of the patterns, that's one for the back, and then go ahead and cut out for the front. So after doing this, the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure my shoulder measurement. So half of your shoulder. My shoulder measurement is 18 inches. So 18 divided by 2 is 9 inches. So on here, I'm going to measure 9 inches. So this is my shoulder line. So I'll measure 9 inches here. So this is half of my shoulder. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out my neck width and neck depth. For the front, I'm going to use a neck width of 3.5 inches and a neck depth of 3 inches. 3.5. For this dress, I'm going to be having a slit in front. For this dress, we do not have a zipper. So you need to be able to get into your dress. Either you have a slit in front or at the back. I'm going to be having my slit in front. So I'm going to go down by 3 inches. This is the depth I want. And then I'll connect. Then for the slit, we're going to cut that later after all the drafting. But I'm going to be doing 4 inches. So you can make yours longer. I'm going to do 4 inches, maybe a quarter of an inch to sew. So for the back, it's still the same width of 3.5, but I'm going to be using a depth of 1 inch. So I'm using a depth of 1 inch for the back, and then I'm going to connect it to the width. So this is the neckline for the back, and this is the one for the front. And like I said, for the front, I'm going to be having a slit in front. After doing that, I'm going to draw out my shoulder slope because our shoulders are not straight. So I'm going to slope my shoulder by 1 inch, and then I'll connect it to the neck width. Like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw out my armhole line, and to do that I need chest line. Okay, so the formula to be able to draw out your armhole line is you divide your bust circumference by 6, add 1.5 inch. After doing that, mine is 9 inches, so I'll measure 9 inches down, and that puts me here. And then half of your shoulder measurement, mine is 9 inches as well. I'm going to bring it down here to know exactly where my chest line is going to be. So this is half of my shoulder measurement. So I'm going to connect using a straight line. So right here is my chest line. I'm going to draw it out so that you can follow along with what I am doing. And then now I'm going to drop the armhole line, which is 9 inches. See? So that's my chest line. So after doing this, the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw out my armhole curve. So in order to do that, I need half of my armhole line. Mine is 4.5 inches. So I'll mark. From this half point, I'm going to go in by half an inch. So this is the half an inch. So this is my half an inch. And then to draw out the curve, I still need my bust circumference measurement. So divide your bust circumference measurement into 4. So mine is 11 inches. So I'll measure and I'll mark on the chest line 11 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect from here to here to here. This is for the front. So this is my armhole line for the front. And then I'm going to be adding ease of 1.5 inch. So 1.5 inch. This is my ease. Because I want the dress to be free. So I want my dress to be free. So that's my ease. So you can decide to add 1 inch or 2 inches or 1.5. I chose to add 1.5. So the next thing I'm going to do now is, this is for my front. For my back, I'm just going to connect from here to that point. That's from the half an inch. I'm just going to connect from the half an inch like this to here, to the bust circumference measurement on the chest line. So this is my armhole for the back. My bust circumference measurement after calculation, it's 11 inches, and I added 1.5 inch ease on the chest line. I'm going to do the same thing on my bust line. So that's 11 inches here, and then I'm adding 1.5, and that's here. So it's the same thing as the one on your chest line. I'll just bring it down here, because it's the same thing, right? And then my waist circumference measurement after calculation is 9.5 inches. So this is my 9.5 inches. Then I'm adding 1.5 inch ease allowance, and that's here. And then for my hip circumference measurement, it's 11.75 after calculation. So whatever yours is, you plot it in here. And then I'm adding 1.5 inch ease as well. And then for the bottom, that's the length of my dress, I will do the same thing. I will use my hip circumference measurement, which is 11.75. That's on here. And then I want my dress to be really flared at the bottom. So instead of adding 1.5 inch, I want to add up to 5 inches. You can even add more if you want. So I'm adding 5 inches. And then the next thing I need to do now is to connect the points. I'll connect to the hip line. So after connecting from my bust line to my waist, then from my waist, I connected to my hip. And then from the hip, I'm going to connect all the way to the length of the dress. I'm going to use this because it's a flare shift dress. So I'm going to connect all the way down. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to add 1 inch sewing allowance. I'm going to be using 1 inch for my sewing allowance. And then I'll connect. So that's my sewing allowance. And then on the shoulder line, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So this is our dress cutting. So you deciding how flare you want your dress is your choice. You can decide to do 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, or whatever inches you want to do. I want mine to be really flared, so that's why I added 5 inches. And then for you not to have pointed edges, go up here by 1 inch. I'm going to go up here by 1 inch. And then I will blend it to meet the length of my dress. So I'm just going to use this to blend it up, so that I don't have pointed edges. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out. So I'm going to be cutting out the back first. So after cutting out my shift dress, this is what I have. So I'm going to take out one piece, and that's my back piece. And then I'll fold it back and then cut out the front. I folded it back, so I'll cut out the front neckline and the armhole. So after doing that, I will now slit the front. Remember, I measured 4 inches, so you decide how deep you want yours to be. I want mine to be 4 inches, so I'm just going to open it. Up to that point. After doing this, this is what we have. This is my front for my dress, and this is my back. So we have both front and back pieces. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to draft out my facing for both the front and the back. For the facing, take another fabric, fold it into 2 and place your neckline on it, and then you trace out the neckline exactly. And then for the shoulder, I'm just going to measure 2 inches. So this is where it's going to end for me, 2 inches. And then the bottom here is 4 inches as well, 4 inches. Okay, so I'll trace it out now. I'll just cut it out. So this is the 4 inches. I'm going to move this. This is where my slit is going to be. So I'm just going to measure 2 inches. I will just connect upwards. And then I'm going to open up here. Up to that point. So this is our facing for the front. So I'm just going to place it. This is the right side, this is the wrong side. So right side is facing right side. So I'm going to place it and pin it, and then we'll cut out the facing for the back. So that's right side facing right side. So this is facing for the front. So I'm going to sew like this from here, 1/2 inch all the way down up to here. Do not cover the shoulders, leave the shoulders for now. Okay, so that's for the front. And then we'll cut the facing for the back. It's the same thing for the back. So for the back, place your dress on another fabric which is folded. Trace out the neckline. And then I want to just use 2 inches on the shoulders. 2 inches. I'm just going to cut out. So I'll just cut out. And then just like we did for the front, right side facing right sides. So I'll open it up. So I'll just pin it. And then I'll sew like this all the way down to the top. So that's for the front and the back. So this is my belt sleeves. So I have 2 here. I'll just mark the wrong side so that I don't mix it up, because it almost looks the same. So these are my belt sleeves. So we cut out 2, all done. So the next thing we're going to do now is to sew in our facing. So for the back, I'm just going to go all the way. And then for the front, like I said earlier, I'm going to go like this, down, up here, and then all the way to the shoulder. So I've sewn in the facing. So this is the back. This is what we have. So I'm going to notch and then flip it to the wrong side. So I'm just going to notch. Be careful not to cut into your stitches. And then I'm going to flip it to the wrong side, and then I'll iron it down. And once I iron it, it's going to look better. See, it's going to look something like this. So after sewing the facing for the front, this is what we have. So I'll also notch and then flip it to the other side. You see, this part you need to notch. Be careful not to cut into your stitches. And then I'll notch the other parts as well, and then I'll flip it. So after doing that, I'll flip it to the right side, and then I'll iron it down. So once I iron it, it's going to look better. So I'm going to flip it and iron it down. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew the shoulders. So right sides facing right sides. So this is my right side of my shoulder. This is the back and this is the front. I'm going to sew. You can do that, or you open it up. You sew facing, either you main fabric to main fabric, or you flip it together like this and then sew using 1/2 inch sewing allowance on this side and on this side. I'm going to go do that now, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So after sewing my shoulder seams, this is what I have all sewn, and I've ironed it down. So this is the outer part, and then this is the inside. So the next thing I need to do now is to sew in my sleeves before sewing the sides. So my sleeves, these are my sleeves. So make sure you fold it into 2 and then notch. Make sure it's equal. Notch the top. So this is the part that is going to go on the shoulder seam. Notch the other one as well. I'll make sure it's folded equally, and then I'll notch. So to add the sleeves, I'll take my dress. So right sides, I'll open it up like this, and then I'll place my sleeves, the notched side, right sides as well, on the shoulder seam. See? I'll open up my shoulder seam. I'll place it. And I'll do it all the way to the end, and all the way to the end, and then I'm going to sew. I'll sew this side, I will sew this side as well, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So after sewing in my sleeves, this is what I have. See, these are my sleeves. So all that is left for us to do now is to sew the sides. I'm going to sew the sides closed. So whatever sewing allowance you left, use that to sew the sides, and then hem. I'm going to serge the bottom. I will also serge the edges of the sleeves, and then I will sew the sides, and then I will hem. So let's go to the sewing machine and sew the sides closed. So after sewing the sides of my dress and hemming, this is what we have. And I've also serged. I've done the finishing. So if you have an overlocker, you overlock, or a serger, you overlock and then you hem. So that's what I did. So these are my sleeves, and then this is my neckline. I finish it up nicely by ironing in hemming gum, and then the hem, I've hemmed as well. I serged the bottom. See how neatly finished it is. I serged and then hemmed. So this is our shift dress. So on the waistline, notch it so that it can lay flat, so that it doesn't bulge. So notch it and then give it a good press. So this is our dress, and this is the back of my dress, and then this is the bottom part. So this is my shift dress with bell sleeves all done. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Please give me a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Take care and God bless.